But this, I think, points to just his sense of entitlement, the sort of element of droit de seigneur that he has. He doesn't sort of think of anyone except his own personal interests. And this is why I think he's found it so hard to make any sort of apology or to show any sort of contrition.
Tonight, we are stepping into a blunt and very open review of Andrew Mountbatten-Windsor that has royal watchers talking. A former royal girlfriend has spoken out with surprising candor, calling him uninformed, spoiled, and certain the world owes him special treatment. These remarks come from Susanna Constantine, a familiar face on television who once dated Princess Margaret's son, David Armstrong Jones. She says she spent time around Andrew, and what she saw stayed with her. Her words are sharp, they are unfiltered, and they match a long record seen across many years of conduct. We will break down what she claimed, why she said it, and how these new remarks add to the growing image of a man whose public fall has been dramatic and messy. We will also revisit another woman from Andrew's early life who predicted his collapse more than 40 years ago with uncanny accuracy. If you follow this channel often, you know fresh details about Andrew's character keep emerging, and none of them are. This story adds yet another piece to that ongoing puzzle.
For my time now, Prince Philip could be a bit tetchy sometimes and, throw a few expletives at you. The Queen was wonderful, very polite, respectful. Unfortunately, Prince Andrew was totally different. He could fly off the handle at the smallest thing. He would be abusive. He would shout, he would swear.
Susanna Constantine appeared on the podcast Spooning with Mark Wogan, and the conversation shifted to her time around the royal circle. Wogan asked a direct question: is the former Duke of York simply misunderstood? Her reply came fast, and it was harsh. She said Andrew is uninformed and entitled. She went even further and said he acts as though the world owes him something, and that he sees himself as above the rules. She called that sense of entitlement the worst trait a person can have, and she made it very clear she is not impressed. These are not statements from someone holding a grudge or trying to be sensational.
So if he has to slow down for a small minute, he would shout out the window, "You effing buffoons," and stuff like that. So there was no leeway. If it wasn't done right for him, then he would fly off the handle.
Constantine dated inside the royal world for 6 years. She handled herself cautiously during that period, and she is still on good terms with her former partner, the second Earl of Snowdon. When someone with her history speaks so openly, people pay attention. She also questioned how Andrew ever secured a helicopter license, saying it is incredibly hard, and noting that her own son serves in the Royal Navy. She knows the standards are strict. Her words suggest she believes Andrew was ushered through doors that would have stayed shut for most others. That point touches a far bigger issue that has followed Andrew for years: the idea that rules never applied to him, that he expected privilege without effort, that he believed access, opportunity, and respect were automatic because of his title rather than any real work. And of course, that mindset is what eventually caught up with him. Constantine did offer one small bit of sympathy. She said, "Growing up as the royal spare must be strange. You are born into enormous wealth and huge privilege, but without a true purpose. Your life is mapped out for you. You do not get to shape your own identity." Many royal experts have said this before, but what stood out is how quickly she returned to her main point. No excuse, no situation justifies the entitlement she witnessed. It reminds us that even people once close to the family view Andrew's behavior as something separate from upbringing, something deeper, something repeated across years and relationships. In contrast, both she and Wogan praised Princess Beatrice and Princess Eugenie. They called them sensible, friendly, and kind. Constantine said for the girls to be that grounded, there must be positive qualities in their parents somewhere, because raising daughters like that is not simple. That praise highlights the strange contradiction at the center of Andrew's reputation. Two daughters widely seen as decent, a father and mother known for arrogance, denial, poor judgment, and a lifetime of scandal.
No, I don't think Andrew has many people on his side. I think Charles gave an undertaking to their mother that he would take care of Andrew, but no one in the royal family likes him. He's made a lot of enemies on the way up. I don't think anyone in the palace likes him.
Now we turn to another voice from Andrew's past, one that shows how deeply rooted his behavior truly was. Long before the scandals exploded, a woman who knew him in the early 80s warned that his attitude would eventually find him. Her name was Vicki Hodge, a glamorous actress and model who met Andrew in Barbados in 1983. Older, more experienced, and far more worldly, she noticed warning signs almost immediately. According to biographer Andrew Lowy, her first impressions were not flattering at all. She remembered Andrew firing off endless jokes that were not amusing, jokes he believed were witty simply because he loved hearing himself talk. When they met the next day, he was swimming in the sea without a single piece of clothing, everything on display. Her account painted the picture of a young man craving attention and acting without limits. They ended up in a 10-day fling. She said he was childish, self-centered, flirtatious, and convinced of his own appeal. He even told her he loved her, then disappeared the moment he sailed away. No call, no message, nothing. Only weeks later, she spoke to the Mirror and shared a quote that now feels shockingly accurate. She said Andrew was stubborn and ignored advice unless it suited him. She said he needed someone strong enough to stop him from getting into situations that would shame him and the monarchy. Her words read like a prophecy. No one knew then that decades later he would be drawn into the Epstein scandal, stripped of his honors, removed from public duties, and seen worldwide as a danger to the royal family's reputation.
He is regular old Andrew, Pete, and we're going to have to get pretty used to calling him Andrew from now on very quickly, because this stripping of his prince title is effective immediately.
Yet her description matches the pattern exactly. A man unwilling to grow, unwilling to listen, unwilling to see consequences until disaster arrived. These two women from completely different periods in Andrew's life describe the same traits: entitlement, ignorance, arrogance, immaturity, stubbornness, a belief that rules never applied to him. Their stories line up perfectly with what former staff, biographers, and insiders have repeated for years. Tales of tantrums, rudeness, crude jokes, pranks meant to embarrass women, excessive spending, questionable travel, a long record of conduct that always pushed limits simply because he assumed he could. And that is why these new remarks from Susanna Constantine stand out so strongly.
And I mean, I've got countless stories of Andrew requesting girls when he went on taxpayer-funded trips.
Do you mean women? Sorry, just to be clear on the ages that you're talking about.
Well, should we say young woman?
Andrew's behavior at private gatherings has been described by many witnesses as vulgar, childish, and almost always directed at women. Former attendees say he used humiliation as amusement, turning parties into stages for pranks that left people shocked instead of entertained. One example involved Andrew sneaking up behind a well-known woman and unzipping her dress in front of everyone as though it were a joke. Other stories describe him pushing a young guest's face into a plate of food while laughing as if the embarrassment was the goal. The pattern continued from his teen years into adulthood. Staff and guests say Andrew enjoyed testing boundaries and seeing how far he could go, especially around young women unlikely to confront him. Witnesses have mentioned crude jokes, physical pranks, and actions that would be unthinkable for any normal person, let alone a royal. The most revealing detail repeated across accounts is that he never seemed ashamed or sorry. He liked being the center of attention, even when it hurt someone else. These stories support the wider view of a man whose immaturity and disregard for others were obvious long before his later scandals became public. Andrew Mountbatten-Windsor once lived a life fueled by privilege, access, and unearned status. Today, he faces the price of that life. He has no public role, he has no titles, he is under pressure to leave Royal Lodge. New stories keep emerging from people who knew him, and each one shows the same pattern. Let me know your thoughts in the comments. I read every single one. If you want steady coverage of royal scandals unfolding behind the scenes, remember to subscribe and turn on notifications. More chapters are coming and I will cover them all. Thank you for watching.